Pancakes. Did you get it? Just got pancakes.
I think I did too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
What did you get?
My name is Mark from Queens. I'm 29 years old, and my 20s end in about 3 weeks.
My name is Avita, but people call me Evie, and I am the founder of No Madness Travel Series, in which I've been documenting my life traveling around the world, and I also started this online community called the No Madness Travel Tribe, and which Dash is a part of.
My name is Callie Baker Johnson. I'm 25. I'm a filmmaker and a freelance VI coordinator.
My name is Steven. I'm 27 years old. I'm originally from Washington, D.C. I live in Brooklyn now, and I work in television production.
My name is Rondell. I'm 27. Marketing manager of Wonder Race in Brooklyn.
Our discussion is about 20-something-year-olds, 20-somethings, as everyone likes to call us, and the transition into adulthood, and the obsession with analyzing this group of young adults. The New York Times did an article last year in August 2010, called "What Is It About 20-Somethings?" And it was a very lengthy article. I'm sure some of you saw it or read it. And it pretty much examines 20-somethings and their habits and the changes that have, over the years, have taken place during that time frame. And a few of the key points in the article was that 20-somethings are pretty much delaying adulthood and eschewing responsibility because of how times have changed. So the markers of adulthood is 5 of them: completing school, leaving home, becoming financially independent, marrying and having a child. In 1960, 77% of women had completed this by the time they were 30. 65% of men had completed this by the time they were 30. In 2000, among 30-year-olds in a U.S. census, fewer than half of women had completed this, and a third of men had done so. So what do you think accounts for the change?
Life expectancy. People live longer now. So the way you accomplish like the markers of life can be extended more. I think that's a big part of it.
I think it also depends on where you live. Like, all of us live in New York City, which is a metropolitan city. You know, in many ways they call it the epicenter of the earth, of like the world. But I think that also plays into it because you'll find more people here that are in like creative industries, especially with like the groups that people roll with. And there's not an emphasis put on having to do all of those things right away. And it's just a younger energy and a younger vibe. I mean, you see it in other cities abroad. I noticed it a lot when I was in Berlin as well. But there is something different to the mentality, I think, of a metropolitan era versus like middle America. You know what I'm saying? Because just the whole lifestyle is completely different. The speed is different. And I feel like people in these city areas are more focused on career and what they can accomplish, particularly women. It's like a lot of times you see women now, we want to accomplish and get where we want to be in our career before we even think about having kids or think about getting married. But I think that is a very like metropolitan mentality.
I think the two biggest reasons are, one, how much more successful women are nowadays. Like, I'm sure when that study was done, there weren't as many women in school, as many women working, and a lot of women, just their purpose, either to go into school or get out of school, was just to get married and just to leave the house and have a man take care of them. And that's not the case anymore. Women are more independent, more liberated, and are more focused on their careers and less about, one of the things they have to do to complete, the signs of adulthood or whatever is like get married. And a lot of women aren't focused on that. The other thing I think made a big difference is college. More kids go to college nowadays than did back then. And also the rising cost of college means that kids are paying off loans for forever. And it's harder to become financially independent when you have all that debt to take care of. I think those are probably the two biggest things.
I think another thing is that I think our generation is like a generation of dreamers. A lot of our parents built like a stable foundation for us, but we also noticed that a lot of them weren't happy with what they did for a living. A lot of them thought that they were going to, set their life up, and eventually realized that what they thought was happiness isn't really happiness. And I think we've observed that and want more for ourselves and are grateful for what they've done for us. But it's kind of like, you know, we have dreams, we have bigger dreams and ambitions than kind of what they set for us. So I think that's another thing that's pushing it.
And actually, the markers of adulthood, you did it not in order.
No, I come from a very strict West Indian background, and so when I applied to school and all that other stuff, my mom had an idea for me, and I wanted to follow it through. But the minute I got to college, I found out there was so many other options. Like, I feel like there's a problem with the U.S. school system where at 17, when you come out, you don't know what you want to do. I went to a liberal arts high school. I went to an expensive high school, but I had no idea what was out there. Like, I had no idea. I could have made it in African studies. I could have done music. I could have done art. And when I got out there, I was like, all right, I want to be a doctor. And I got there like, this is way too much hard. This is way too hard. Way too much time devoted. And I didn't have the capacity to devote my time to just doing that. And so I wound up actually dropping out, getting a job, and then my job now is providing me funds to go back to college. And I'm going back to college for photography, and I'm not even working in that field. I work for the electric company of New York, Con Ed, and I'm going for photography, and that's what I wanted to do. But it took me 29 years to figure that out.
And you married before you completed school. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with doing things out of order. Why is there always a rule about doing something? What's the problem?
In Europe, there's a thing that they do that I really, really like, where they have the gap year. And what you'll notice with people in America who take the time out to travel, they usually go to college first, finish their 4 years in college, and then they go travel and see the world, and then they try to like come back and get into the work thing. Over there, they have a tendency to take their gap year after high school. And I think that that is such a dope idea because it gives you such a viewpoint of the world, and you're able to really take some time out for yourself and, again, kind of understand who you are, see what's out there in the world.
And you can apply it to your studies.
Options, yeah, and figure out, I think, have a better idea, may not be certain, but a better idea of what it is you really want to go into university and go study. And when I went to Europe for the first time, I was like, the conversations I was having with these people, they're like 17 years old and they've been all over the world. Like, they just graduated by the time that they're 18, and I'm like, I really dig that.
Just to piggyback on what you said, I've been to Europe a couple of times. My parents are French, and I think the reason why they're allowed to do that is that in France, because I've been to France just a few times, but they don't pay for college. The government pays for college. So if I could put off paying to go to school, why not? And then I think another thing too is that in Europe, the different countries are landlocked, so I can take a train to Germany or to Portugal, to Spain. Like, as a U.S. kid, you have to actually leave the country to go somewhere else and get something to do. I mean, going between states is one thing, but if you can cross the line and then see a whole other culture, in Europe, I believe it's far more easy. It's a lot easier.
A few of the points that they pointed out was exactly everything that you touched on. They said that it's more acceptable to cohabitate, premarital sex is more acceptable, birth control is more acceptable, women have more career options, and actually they said reproduction technology. So if you want to have a baby at 35, you can do in vitro if you're not able to conceive. So women don't have that, well, some women don't have that biological clock ticking in the back of their head as were in the past. So do you think that, in the article it says that the 20-something age range can be viewed as either self-discovery or self-indulgence? And I was telling Rondell, I'm like, why is there such a negative connotation on self-indulgence? What's wrong with that? Why can't it be both?
This is the time to be selfish. I mean, and that's like verbatim coming out of the mouth of my mother. You know, it's like, if you don't have kids, I'm not even in a relationship. It's like, I don't have a husband. Really, the only thing I need to take care of is myself and my cat. Like, you know what I'm saying? So this is the time where if you choose to bop around the world, this is the time to do it. You don't have any responsibilities if you choose to take some career risk, you know, for the sake of being happy and something that you think is going to be more fulfilling for you, this is the time to do it. You know, I think waiting, everything is flip-flopped. It's funny because when I travel, I look at like older couples and I'm like, I wonder if they've been here before or if they took the stance of I'm going to wait until I retire to all of a sudden go live my life. And I'm like, it's so ass backwards. You know what I'm saying? Like, you really should be like taking advantage of those things while you're young, while you can move and function properly on a physical level, you know what I'm saying, and do all these things. Yeah, and you don't know if you're even going to live that long. Not to sound morbid, but like, you never know what tomorrow's going to bring. So with that said, you know, you really have to go out there and just do, you know, and do you. And I think it's smarter to do that at a younger age.
The other thing, going off of that point, is that 20-somethings battle with the two things, whether they should follow their dreams and you know, strike out on their own and take risks, or maybe start in on something concrete so that they don't fall behind in their ultimate goal. So I think it is a battle, because for me personally, I had started on something concrete and figured out that, hey, maybe I want to do something on my own and build something. So when I actually took that step, everyone said, this is the time to do it. So why do you think that, you know, we have these professionals and doctors and psychologists, they're kind of, I guess, not downing that, but why do we have to, as soon as we're 18, we have to hit the ground running, go to college, get a career? Why not self-explore? Why not take risks, like Avita said? Why can't we travel and do whatever we want because we don't have those responsibilities? Why is that looked down upon?
It's important to find a balance. Like, you'll have people who are in their 20s who have no direction, who are just kind of going everywhere. There are so many different types of career choices, haven't even decided on a career. They're like, you know, bartending for 10 years, 20 years or whatever, and they don't know where their life is going. I mean, that's the extreme case of self-indulgence. I think they also have to be able to find a career and lock something down, because you don't want to be 10 years behind everyone else when they turn 30. I think it's important to just, and then you also don't want to be that person who is unhappy at 35 because you got locked into something so concrete. So for me, it's finding a balance. It's being able to, you know, maybe pick a certain career and then that could kind of fall into something else, or you might want to try something and then switch it up at 30, like at 30 or 35. So I think you have to figure out what works for you. But I think when you are too self-indulgent, that's when you lose focus. But that's my personal opinion. Some people might disagree.
I also think it's an American thing, because everywhere else, my cousins abroad, everywhere else, people live with their parents until they get married. Because that was the other aspect of the article, that a third of, actually 40% of 20-somethings move back in with their parents at least once. I don't think that's a bad thing, because as I was saying, when you become a parent, you're a parent for life. And I mean, if you come from a good home, I don't think your parents mind helping you out a little bit. You know, not to suck them dry and, oh, mom and dad, you must pay for everything that I do. But I don't think there's anything wrong with having that support system, because you're going for something bigger. So the statistic is 40% move back in with their parents at least once. A third of 20-somethings move to different residents every year. You have about 7 jobs in your 20s, and this is the most jobs you'll have in any stretch of your life. And 2/3 live with a romantic partner without being married. So all of those statistics, I personally don't see anything wrong with them, because it goes along with self-discovery. If you're moving every year, maybe you don't like this place. Maybe it got too expensive, especially in New York, where they want to raise rent $1,000. I know you.
I was just about to say, like, so the rent is going up a certain percentage, and your job is trying to give you a 2% increase in your pay. You're gonna have to move. So that's just, I mean, at least for New York City, that's just a given fact. And on top of that, I mean, going to the what was the other statistic that you said? One of the first ones?
Which one? A third move a resident every year? 40%
moving back home. So after college, it's almost impossible to not move back home if you're moving back to the city that you were born in, I think, at least. I don't know many people who went away to college at least and came back to the town that they were from and are able to say, I just found a job in an apartment and I'm living on my own right away. So I don't know what was going on back in those days, but I mean, given the times right now, I mean, rent is like a lot. It's way too damn high. So I'd be surprised if that statistic changed anytime soon.
The median age for marriage, which in the 1970s it was 21 for women and 23 for men. In 2009 it's 26 for women and 28 for men. Why the change? You think, personally speaking, personally in your life, do you think you're putting off marriage and children later and later?
Hell yeah. And it's nothing against it. I mean, there was a point in time when I was younger where I was like, I don't want to get married, I don't believe in it. But that's just because of like family issues, the way that I grew up and how I saw families being broken behind that. But even so, like, you know, you see it work in different facets, whether it's family or your friends, you know, and it really changes your mind. But I really feel like, and the advice that I've gotten from people is just don't rush it. Like, really don't rush it. It will happen when it's supposed to happen. Focus on the things that you need to do, and, you know, make sure that you're whole before you get involved with somebody else, you know, and make sure that they're whole too, so that it really is a complementary type of relationship. You're not like living off of someone else, and they're not living off of you. But definitely pushing that way farther.
And Mark is 29 and he just got married.
Thank you.
What do you have to say about that?
I felt like you felt for a while that I just didn't want to get married at all. It wasn't for me, just because I was doing a lot of running around, and I was in my 20s, but I found out that I did a lot of fucking up. I did a lot of messing up, and then after a while I got tired of it. So I just, you know, I found the person that I wanted to be with. She wanted to be with me, which was a good thing, and so we got married. Huh?
That always is a requirement, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you don't want to beat them over the head to get married. But I just felt like I was ready. You know, I didn't have anything else to do out there with women. As far as exploring women, I felt like I knew who I was. I knew what kind of woman I wanted to be with, and I think she presented herself to me, and I liked it, and I wanted it, and so I got married.
You like this, so you put a ring on it?
Yes, I put a ring on it. Absolutely.
I was thinking about how many kids like I know whose parents aren't together, and I feel like that probably had a big influence on our generation too. And just that a lot of people don't believe that marriage is something that works because it didn't work for their parents. Which I think maybe another reason why people are like, you know, waiting to get married or not doing it at all, or, you know, living with people and with partners but never getting married.
I think it is the examples in your life. If you're not feeling that pressure 24/7, you're gonna feel free to do more with your life, I believe.
My parents got married, I think, when they were like 28 or 29. And they've always told me to get married later. My dad is my mom's second marriage. My mom married her high school boyfriend at like 18, and that lasted like 8 months or something like that. So she was always very much, you know, wait.
You said people don't take marriage seriously.
Yeah, I mean, not that they don't take marriage seriously, but I feel like because divorce has kind of lost its stigma, like it's not, people aren't like branded as like divorcees and like cast off. Like people feel like they can get divorced, and if marriage doesn't work out, they don't need to stay in it.
How many of you guys know people that are married already in their 20s or divorced already in their 20s?
I know. Yeah, so do I.
Who? Everyone?
Yeah, pretty much, right?
All you gotta do is log on Facebook for that.
I wonder what part religion plays in the whole marrying early and the growing up early thing, because I think at that time, I think a lot of people in their 20s were really more strict with religion and really like brought up into a certain lifestyle because of religion. And not to say that our generation isn't religious, but I think it's a different idea, because when you look at someone who's like really into church and goes every week without fail, and it's like that is basically their guideline for life. A lot of those people still get married early, and you know what I'm saying, like they still live that same lifestyle that they're talking about from back in the day. So I think that might have a big part to play.